Hey, it's Jess. Welcome back. Today I'm here with another Way Back Wednesday where I will be talking about all the books that I read in October of 2021. Looking at my Goodreads, I read a total of 6 books that month. However, one of those books was published by St. Martin's Press, so we will not be talking about that this video because the boycott again is ongoing. So here are the other 5 books that I read that month. The first book I read was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. In this book, you are following a woman who, when she was young, she and her parents lived in a house and had to flee in the middle of the night because the house was haunted. And then her father wrote a book about their experience in the house and is like a best-selling novel. Well, her father passes away, and so she goes back to this house because she finds out that he still owned it. And so she goes back to the house to like sort through possessions and put it up for sale, but also to try to figure out what happened that night and what happened during their time there that made them have to flee. And the book is written where, like, in one chapter it's her perspective and the chapters between are actual chapters from the book that her dad wrote. So it's kind of like a multimedia thing. I like when books do that. I think it's really interesting. This was my first Riley Sager book that I had read, and I've read a couple more. This one I think is my favorite of his that I've read. Probably because it leans more towards like the horror because it's about a haunted house and things like that. And obviously I like that better than just like the thriller books. But yeah, I really liked Home Before Dark. It was a good one to start with. Yeah, if you are looking for a good haunted house story, I suggest you check that one out. The next book I read was The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. In this book, you are also following a boy this time who is going back to his childhood home. I believe his father either passed away or is sick, but the man and his wife and son are moving back into the boy's childhood home. And it's kind of about like familial drama, but also horror. It's kind of like a haunted house book too. You have multiple timelines, multiple points of view from different characters. I know a lot of people really liked this book. I thought it was too long. I don't really remember very much about it because I didn't enjoy it that much. I know that Chuck Wendig has some more books that he's written. I haven't checked any of them out, but I want to because, again, so many people liked this book. Maybe it was just this book of his that wasn't for me, so I kind of want to check out his other works and see if I might enjoy one of them better. Okay, I have to have my book up, my notes, to remember this name, and I'm probably going to say it wrong anyway, so I apologize for that. The next book I read was Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Iyemide. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. In this book, you are following 2 black children who go to a boarding school. They are the only black children, I believe, at this boarding school. One of them is very high achieving, school counselor president, or if she's not, like, she's in all the clubs, she's very high achieving. The boy is not. He's basically I don't think he's a slacker, but he definitely comes from the rougher side of town and is basically there on a scholarship. And then there are parts of this reminded me a lot of One of Us is Lying because it has to do with like all these texts start coming out about secrets about students in the school. I think some of them might start dying, but bad things start happening. And the 2 students are trying to figure out why and trying to figure out the school's long history. I can't remember very much about this book, but I remember that I gave it a 5-star. It is a young adult, like, horror thriller book. And I know that this author has another book that just came out that it also can't, the school, about another book about a school. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. I can see the cover, like it's a face. And it has like a dove over one of the eyes. Oh, I can't remember. I know this author has another book out, but I haven't read it yet. Again, I really liked Ace of Spades. I'd like to go back and reread it because although I don't remember a lot about it, just because I read so many books and I read this so many years ago, but I did really enjoy this one. If you're looking for a young adult, like horror thriller, I really suggest you check this book out. The next book I read was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is the first Blake Crouch book that I had read. I'd been hearing a lot about it and I saw it at the library, so of course I picked it up. This book, Books with Emily Fox on YouTube, calls Blake Crouch, like, especially Dark Matter, like a dad book. Like, you're trying to suggest a book to your dad and a book that you think your dad would read and like, and you suggest Dark Matter because it's just the kind of a book that most dads would enjoy. And I did suggest it to my dad, and he did like it. This is a sci-fi novel. You are following a man who has what he feels is the perfect life. I think he goes into work one night. He gets called into work or something, and something happens and he passes out, and when he wakes up, he's in a world that is not his world. And so his perfect life is missing, and he is trying to get back to his timeline. It's basically like a time travel, multiple universe book. I really liked this one. I thought it was really good. It is not my favorite Blake Crouch novel. I really like, anyway, but for being the first of his books that I read, I really enjoyed this one. I like his writing style. I like science fiction that sometimes, I like it because it's not, this one wasn't too science-y in the science fiction part. Like, yes, it was a little confusing because it had like multiple timelines, and that stuff always gets confusing, just like time travel always gets confusing, but it didn't feel so dense that I couldn't understand it, and I followed the story. And that, I appreciate when sci-fi novels do that, because I don't want to read a book that makes me feel stupid because I can't figure out what's happening. And Blake Crouch has never made me feel like that reading one of his books, and I really appreciate that about him and his writing. And the last book I read in October of 2021 was Sour Candy by Keelan Patrick Burke. This is a very short story. Like, I don't even know if I'd call it a novella. I think it's only 60 or 70 pages. In it, you are following a man who is at the store and hears a child down the aisle from him screaming about wanting candy, and there's a very harried mother there, and he goes, oh my gosh, this is why I don't have kids. I'm so glad I don't have kids because I don't have to put up with kids throwing fits like this in public. And then he gets home, and this child is in his house calling him daddy. And so he's like, what is happening? Why is this child here? Why out of any child did I get this child? And why does he want sour candy so much? I really liked it. It was a creepy little book. I read it really quickly. I wanted to know what was going to happen. If you're looking for a short, creepy, weird book, check this one out. And those are all the books that I read in October of 2021. A pretty short month. I couldn't believe it when I looked at it, but again, the fall is when school starts again, so I'm sure I was busy with stuff at work. I enjoyed most of the books that I read, and a couple of them I would like to go back and reread again. And now I want to know, have you read any of these books? What did you think? All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.